Yes.
So excited that you are joining me here in London.
Here I am.
Before your Wembley show.
Yes.
First drag act to sell out Wembley.
Well, that sounds very specific. It's one of these things where I'm not sure statistically how it all works out. This is what was given to me by everyone else. Because then you start saying, first drag queen to work Wembley in a solo act with an orange wig on a Thursday. It gets a little specific.
It's like when they're in music. They're like,
Yes.
the first female platinum
Yes.
selling in this country at this time.
At that hour, that day, with platinum hair. Yeah, it is kind of fascinating. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity. So that I'm quite excited about.
But that first phone call or that first time when you met in person, oh my God, I'm playing Wembley.
It was this slow progression into it. It started out as, hey, we're interested in doing this. And you're like, okay, and then the next time was like we finalized everything, which was like, oh shit. And then after that, when I actually went there to take photos, it was like, oh. So it's been a slow progression to it. But honestly, it was a business choice. It wasn't a vanity choice because I had done my show here in London, lucky enough to do my show here in London for 3 nights that was sold out at a 3,300 seat capacity, which is why they did the math and said, well, let's just go to a larger venue. So that's how that kind of played. It wasn't me going, get Wembley on the line. I would love to say that, but that's not the case. So it did work out that way.
Because you've been doing tours all over the shop. We're talking Liverpool, Hull out of all places.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself whilst being on tour?
That I'm a drunk. That I have to drink to get through it. No, I mean, I think for me, it reminds me of what I was doing when I was working in New York or in New Orleans. It's that you had a schedule, and I'm great with a schedule. I love knowing where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do, and just to keep moving. And the best way to do that, especially with comedy, is to have an audience. So I'm grateful enough to get to go around the world at this point. And I've been around, I think, since the television show. I think it's been this is my 4th tour, I think, that I've done. So with each year, luckily, it's gotten bigger, larger audiences, and you get to go everywhere else. So you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about the business of it. You learn how it all makes sense. And this particular year, I was extremely fortunate because a lot of the dates were trunked together, which really works out better for me because, you have a show and then you have a week off. That never helps. This is great with the continuity, and I'm best at being a machine. So currently, I'm here, but I started the tour earlier this year in Asia and Australia, and then I went and done the West End with Everybody's Talking About Jamie for a minute, and then got back on the road. So then it was South Africa, Canada, then it was all of Europe, and now I'm here with you, and then I've got 39 cities, I think 39 or 40 cities in America left. So all of that will follow after. So that usually is what works best for me.
I mean, how do you keep the humour going for that long, especially when you're like exhausted after touring?
Well, it's not that exhausting. I mean, you travel a lot. I mean, I'm either on a bus or on a plane, and luckily I'm not flying or driving either one of them. I mean, I'm kind of...
Imagine Bianca on a plane.
That's your worst
They're gonna
nightmare.
crash land, bitches!
I said buckle your seatbelt. But... yeah, I mean, the schedule works out. And like I said, I prefer to do it every day. It's continuity that makes it easier for me, Yeah, and through it, each audience is different. So the show is different every night. I mean, not completely, but structurally things can happen. Like I was just recently in Liverpool, and we had a lot of technical issues. So the show was a completely different show than I had been having up until that point. So it shifts depending on the night, but the structure is there, so to speak, and it keeps me on my toes, which is what I love the most.
And one thing that I'm interested in, because when you went on the show, you were so polished.
Oh, Drag Race.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
How have you improved as an artist and as a comedian over the years?
Well, I mean, the opportunity for Drag Race was just, it was fitting because it was somewhat new at the time. I mean, I think that it reached its peak with season 4 and season 5 was when I think a lot more people became aware of what was going on with the show. So it just seemed like, all right, let me try this at that time. At the time I was 37. I think when we were filming, I had a birthday during the filming. So I was 38 and it didn't air until the next year. So in that time I thought, hey, I've already had 18 years of drag. I thought, if it ended tomorrow, I'm good, but let me take a chance on this. So, because originally I've said countless times that at 40 I was going to quit. Quit drag, just quit my life in drag, because I'd been working every day in different bars for many years, and it just seemed like it was going as far as it could go. And here was this great opportunity that shifted it all. So I think once I got through the show, is that it just became very clear, having all those other years, was saying, I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want, which then I started eliminating everything that I saw that didn't seem fitting. And a lot of Drag Race alumni come out of it and do music videos and do albums, and I knew, not doing that. And not to say they shouldn't, but I knew that's not what I wanted. So that's what kind of navigated all of it. And getting out there and doing the hustle, getting out there and doing the audience. When you have, 3,300 people or 5 people staring at you, you have to have something to offer.
Because I think that's one of the misconceptions of drag, is people just kind of put all drag queens, they're just drag queens. But no, you've got different types of queens. You have your comedic queens, your music queens. Like, look at how well Adore's doing with her music and everything. So, like, do you ever get annoyed at the kind of misconceptions of drag as a whole? Because you are very much a pioneer in what you've done.
Well, a pioneer is an interesting choice of words. That just means I'm old. But no, I think there's many other people that are real pioneers. I have a problem with pioneer. I have a problem with the word legend. I mean, a lot of people use this and they've done absolutely nothing. You want to talk about legends. Lady Bunny is a legend. Coco Peru is a legend. Sherry Vine is a legend. Jackie Beat is a legend. These are people that did drag way before me. Not to mention, even before that, you had people like Charles Pierce, Jim Bailey. Those were pioneers of drag. Divine. Everybody's path is completely different. So I'm always fascinated by people that just assume. Now, granted, Drag Race has changed a lot for us, but I think that has a lot to do with social media. I mean, the world we live in. You have access to television shows at your fingertips. Anybody can find you anywhere in the world. So that doesn't make you a legend. It doesn't make you fabulous. Sure, you did some reality show, but you also had this ticket through television. Television's a pretty powerful thing. But I think through it all, you do meet so many different types of people, and the most successful queens you find are aware of what they're doing. I do comedy. I am a comedian. There's people that are musicians, but there's drag queens that do music. So it varies. They always call a comedy queen anybody who's not pretty. So anybody from any other season, they go, she's a comedy queen. What, 'cause she's not pretty? That's fine, but that doesn't.
I think you're pretty.
Well, no, I know I am pretty, but I'm saying that's just usually how it works. I think in the Drag Race spectrum, not so much in real drag. I think that's what happens. I mean, you take someone that doesn't fit the mold of being glamorous or a glamazon, and they say, oh, well, she must be a comedy queen. Okay, but does she do comedy or does she just lip sync funny numbers? Even that has to get broken down into what we do.
Yeah.
Because it is completely different. As I said, there's, drag queens that are musicians, and I believe that Adore is a musician. I believe that Courtney Act is a star. She is a musical theater actress. So there's drag queens that do music. They make a music video, but they're not really musicians. So there's different compartments even within that.
So we've spoken a bit about the tour.
Yeah.
Time to spill the tea.
Okay.
What are your main tips for a good read?
Well, I think it has to be based in truth, and I also think it just has to be funny. That's how I feel when I'm with my friends. I mean, the only things that make me laugh are the most truthful, hateful things, and I think that's important.
Have you ever had a bad read that's just so not funny that
for
it
me?
actually makes you laugh?
Countless.
Because the reads this year on season 11, I gotta say, they were awful, but they were just so funny because they were that so bad.
Well, I think that comes with the territory. I mean, it depends on who you're at. I'm lucky enough to be friends with some of the most hateful queens there are, and that's what makes it funny, because I enjoy nothing more than sitting in a dressing room and laughing at something, if it's true or if I can relate to it. I'm not offended by the words you'll never hear me say is I'm offended. I am not offended in the least.
Would I ever hear you say, I'm feeling very attacked right now?
Hell no. Hell no. No. I think it's important to laugh at it. And I mean, for me, and I have to emphasize this for me, growing up, that's what drag was.
Yeah.
Was being a catty, fun queen in the dressing room, because usually you're in some shithole working with no lights, nobody to play the music, 3 people in the bar. You had to amuse yourself on some level. So when you're in the room with those types of girls, you go, this is it, here we go. So you tried to find humor in all of it. I mean, now it's, everyone's so grand and everybody's so fabulous.
Well, I mean, speaking of grand and fabulous, there's a lot of rumours going around online that you, Miss Bianca Del Rio, maybe the next host or the first host of Drag Race Australia.
Oh, sure.
Are
Yeah.
you the
For the
host?
sake of your interview, sure. And I'm also doing Drag Race North Korea. Oh, God. I think what it was just a couple of people that are dealing with, these newspaper, as we used to call them, or publicity people, just Googled drag queen from Drag Race and stuck everyone's face on it. Like, I don't know where this comes from.
Where I think it has come from is you've been very well received in Australia. You've had sold out dates in Australia.
A lot of people have.
The humour there is more towards your sense, kind of a bit of that brutal read sort of humor. I think that's where it's come from.
I mean, it's a lovely compliment, but I'm not in talks with anyone to do it. And I think that if that were the case, it would have been discussed with me before they announced they're doing it. But it is a lovely compliment. But I just find it fascinating that that's how people are. I mean, one minute they had me there, one minute they had Adore hosting, and then the one time they had me, Courtney, and Adore hosting. So I thought, this is brilliant.
I mean, imagine that. I would love for the season 6 winners.
Wouldn't we all? I don't know. I don't know the specifics of it. I mean, no one's talked to me about it, so that's just a fact. But I mean, that's not the first time they have these types of rumors. So,
are you going to be a judge on the UK Drag Race? Because you are very popular here.
No, well, it was already filmed.
I would love if you...
Well, I'm not saying I would never not do it, but I wasn't here when they were filming. And actually, I was wrapped up in LA doing something. And then when I flew, within days after they were through filming there, I came in for rehearsals for Jamie. So you will not see me, on this season. Not at all. Right. Not to say that I'm not opposed to it. No.
Now, recently, I know you haven't really watched some of the other seasons.
I haven't watched many of the other seasons.
So you've watched some. But there was a bit of drama with Miss Yvie Oddly on Twitter. About her not wanting money for pictures and whatever, and you've weighed in on that. Yeah. My question is, does how you act after the show as a personality affect your success after going on Drag Race?
I don't have the formula for everyone. My response to her in the most natural way that I would say it, even if you were in my face, was when someone says I'm not taking a photo because I'm not getting paid. My response to it was, well, good luck. Because you're going to have people that are going to find you. You're going to walk out of nowhere. People are in bushes. Hey, girl, can I get a picture? That's just what comes with the territory. So I was just laughing at the fact that who writes that? If you're in that place, fine. Or maybe, after a couple of hours go, ooh, that sounded pretty crazy. I should maybe delete that. Because you know it's going to come from it. You're going to upset people. It didn't upset me. It just made me laugh going, good luck. I mean, you've been at it for however many months she was doing it. It's not, if you're lucky, it doesn't end, So you're going to be working and you're going to be out and there's a way to go about it, You can leave the theater through the back. You can have it arranged with management. You could do whatever. They can get you to your flight. Or you can have a conversation saying, hey, guys, sorry last night I couldn't take any photos because of whatever reason. But that wasn't the initial tweet, which is why my response was, well, good luck. Because if you say you can't take photos, you're not going to, you refuse to take photos because you already did a meet and greet and you're not being paid. Well, that's going to come with a lot of people's shit. Or just don't type it,
Now, this isn't about Drag Race specifically,
sure.
But do you think there is a sense of entitlement for the up-and-coming, the younger queens, the Instagram generation queens?
Well, I think the assumption that you can be entitled, because everyone's life on Instagram and on social media is basically the glamour of it. They don't realize the other side of it. Sure, you can have 1 million followers. Sure, you can have a gorgeous photo of you. But what did it take to get there? And what do you have other than that? And sometimes people that are seeing you on Instagram, the only moment they have is when they're asking you for a picture. So imagine if they follow you and like you and worship you and they've come up to you to ask you to take a picture at the airport or at a restaurant, and you're a cunt. Good luck. I mean, come on, it's a picture. She didn't ask for a fucking kidney. If they say, can you pay my college tuition? Go fuck off.
Well, Stormzy's done it. Why
exactly.
not?
But if somebody asks, for a photo, it's like, of course, And people say, well, if what if you don't like taking photos? Well, then you stay the fuck home.
Amazing. Bianca, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now, let me tell you about this bitch. No.